Closed captioning of this program is underwritten by AARP of the Virgin Islands.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WTJX, its board, staff, or underwriters.
Good day and welcome to the League of Women Voters Meet the Candidates Forum, a program produced in collaboration with WTJX TV for well over 35 years. It is our hope that through these programs, you, the voting public, will have a better understanding of each candidate running for elective office in the United States Virgin Islands. We invite you to look at all our programs for the 2024 election year right here on WTJX TV with candidates seeking office as a senator in the 36th legislature or as delegates for the Constitutional Convention. For the first time also, we are interviewing candidates for the Board of Education and Election. Although all the candidates for these positions were invited, not all responded or accepted the invitation. We are delighted to have here today, however, two candidates running for the position of senator in St. Croix District. My name is Annie Henry, a member of the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands, and I will serve as the moderator for today's program. The candidates have been informed in advance of guidelines for the program. No candidate had access to the questions in advance. The first responder to each question will be rotated among the participants. Answers are generally 90 seconds. Change in timing of a question will be announced in advance. All are expected to be respectful of everyone. So let's begin. I will ask each candidate to identify who they are and to state their political affiliation and ballot number. We will learn more about each as discussions ensues. Let's start with Senator Francis. Please state your name, ballot number, and political affiliation.
Good day. My name is Novell E. Francis Jr. I'm number 8, and I'm running as a Democrat.
Senator Giddings.
Hi, my name is Kenny Gittens, number 14 on the ballot, and I am running as a Democrat.
Let's begin by talking about your readiness to remain a senator. What has been your accomplishments as a senator over the past 2 years that you feel justified, your re-election is justified? 90 seconds. We will begin with Senator Francis, please, followed by Senator Giddings.
Thank you very much for the question. Again, I'm Novell E. Francis Jr., and I'm seeking re-election to the 36th legislature. And of course, I would like to say that my accomplishment has been many over the last 2 years. First of all, I've served as the Senate President in the 35th legislature of the Virgin Islands. And in that capacity as a Senate President, I had additional duties by not just being a senator, but I had 3 additional duties. One, I had the responsibility of running the central staff, and that is done through an executive director's office. And of course, the central staff is the backbone of the legislature, those constant that remains at the legislature, such as our post-audit, our clerical staff, our security, media, public affairs in those areas. In addition to that, I also had the responsibility of moving legislation that was sent down by the office of the governor in the administration of the governor. And of course, the governor sent down close to 80 pieces of legislation to this individual, and 72 of those legislation will move forward on his behalf. Additionally, I had the responsibility in the 35th legislature and as Senate President to also act as a Lieutenant Governor in the absence of the Governor or Lieutenant Governor. So again, I believe that my accomplishment and my record speak for itself. While doing all of this, I still had to move my legislative agenda forward as a senator in the 35th legislature of the Virgin Islands.
Senator Giddens?
As Senate Majority Leader, as many of you know, viewing and listening, my stance on WAPA and accountability of all administrations, not just this administration. And during this term, I've had the opportunity to work with my colleagues in holding this administration accountable, and we appropriated funding to the Inspector General's office to handle the WAPA issue that we're facing today. Also, additionally, with regards to public safety and our health care shortage here in personnel, I've also, along with my colleagues, moved legislation to assist the Department of Education with the shortage of school nurses within our public schools, whereas we've now moved legislation to have what we call a school health technician. Aside from that, we also see that we have a shortage of emergency medical technicians in the territory, and my colleagues and I have moved legislation to also implement an emergency medical service program within our public high schools. Currently, we're working on legislation to amend that piece of legislation where our students will not only have hands-on training, but will be able to partner with the University of the Virgin Islands, utilize the Medical School Simulation Center, and working towards continuing education credits.
Thank you. Let us move on to my second question, which will be addressed to you first, Senator Giddens. Explain what motivates you to remain a senator in the VI legislature.
I remain committed to the people of the Virgin Islands, especially on the pressing issues that's facing us within the Virgin Islands today. I look at this from a standpoint of restoring life in our islands, leadership, integrity, fidelity, and efficiency. There's much more work ahead of us to do, and I am pretty sure that with my colleagues in the legislature or whomever is elected to work alongside me in the legislature, that we will be able to make things better in the Virgin Islands and create a better quality of life for all Virgin Islanders.
Senator Francis?
Thank you again for your question. And I believe that I'm poised to continue to serve in the legislature of the Virgin Islands because my commitment is one that's second to none. I've served as a volunteer. I've served 25 years in law enforcement, working my way up from a police cadet all the way to retiring as a police commissioner. I'm a servant leader. I've been in the legislature for 5 terms consistently, again, providing legislation, meaningful legislation that had great and significant impact on the behalf of the people of the Virgin Islands. I continue to be a statesman. I continue to provide mentorship to the individuals that I work along with. I have enjoyed my job. I continue to show up to work every single day. Regardless of how difficult and dark the night may have been, I wake up renewed with a sense of commitment to really serve this community. And I just ask for this community. First of all, I want to thank them for supporting me over the last 35 years in my various capacity in terms of public service, and ask them to consider giving me one of their vote again so I can continue to serve the people of the Virgin Islands.
Thank you. I'm going to change the topic just a little. The League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands is concerned that far too many citizens say they are not voting this year because they see little happening to alleviate their suffering with high food prices, insecure energy resources. Now, you know we're talking about WAPA. Lack of affordable housing and crime year after year of voting. What can you tell these citizens about reasons for voting in November?
Well, the first thing I'll tell the citizens of this community is it's important for them to have a voice and certainly to have representation. So it's very important for them to be a part of the voting process. And I know that that's something that the League of Women Voters also advocate for. I will agree with them that there are some challenges in our community. Of course, we're rebounding from 2 Category 5 hurricanes as well as a pandemic. There's a lot of pessimism in our community. There's a lot of challenges. But I think that we can continue to be resilient because you have the representative at the legislature that can continue to be committed to really serving this community. I believe that we're at a crossroads where we will see improvement being made in respect to WAPA. This government have poured into WAPA a tune of $245 million. Of course, we have just gotten out of the VTAL deal for $145 million. The government have subsidized WAPA at the tune of $100 million of recent. And I believe that we're starting to see some improvement being made as it pertains to WAPA. In terms of the high food prices and all of the other challenges that's facing us in this community, we have to work collectively to be able to address those matters. But not voting, again, take away that voice, take away that representative, and they have to consider to look at those individuals, look at their record in terms of their public service and their commitment to serve this community. And I truly want to ask them to consider giving me one of those votes as they consider voting in the upcoming election. Don't be discouraged.
Thank you. Senator Giddens?
Again, many of you know my stance on the WAPA issue. And like my colleague just stated, we have to do this together, collectively. Your vote is your voice. If you don't show up to the polls, then you have no voice. And we can't just stay on the side and complain. A lot of us can stay in the background and do the Monday morning quarterbacking and whatnot, but those aren't the individuals that's getting to the table and making things happen for us. So it is very important for you to get out there and vote your conscience for those who you believe will stand up for you. This senator you have seen working on your behalf. I am not afraid to stand up for what is right, nor am I afraid to stand alone, especially for the right of each and every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's look at major concerns. There are 4 areas of major concern to the public, as indicated by a survey of 2 years ago that still remains concerns today: education, crime, health, and WAPA. Let us talk about each. With respect to WAPA, as one of the 4 top concerns cited by voters, what do you see as the major challengers for WAPA, and what would be your strategies for addressing any as a senator in the 36th legislature? Senator Giddens?
Thank you for that question. Again, with regards to WAPA, keyly accountability is what's lacking within the authority. I am not sorry for referring to them as a criminal entity. This has gone far and beyond with the billing issues that we're having each and every month. For instance, there's a community here in the St. Croix district that has been without power for approximately 3 months now. Why are these residents receiving bills in the tune of $300, $700, some even in the thousands? This is to show you that something, accounting-wise, is not right within the authority. I will continue to keep the press on within the authority so that we can hold people there accountable, so that we could move forward with finding solutions for a reasonable power bill coming to us. This is truly hampering our economy here coming into the Virgin Islands, and businesses are closing because the WAPA bills are just too high. My colleagues and I will continue to work towards this end, and we have provided funding to the Inspector General's office to look into this matter, and hopefully the administration of the Water and Power Authority will also do their best to do what is right.
Thank you, Senator Francis.
There's truly a silver lining as it pertains to WAPA as we move forward. There's an opportunity based on federal funding that we received at the tune of $600 million for us to be able to build a new WAPA plant. And I'm hoping that that will be constructed over in the South Shore area. In addition to that, some of the issues that we have seen with the current WAPA situation, of course, is the errors in the billing, poor maintenance of the generation system. And I believe that the work that's being done now to replace those generators and getting us some new generators is instrumental in us being able to see some improvement in that area. In addition to that, we have renewable and alternative energy that will be deployed in the very near future that would allow for, we have the Petronella plant that will give us about 16 megawatts, and down at the Hogansburg area, they'll give us another 24 megawatts of power. We see a lot of work being done now in terms of clearing our poles and our lines, because we know that that too have an impact, a diverse impact into the WAPA situation. We're in a perfect storm as it pertains to WAPA, and I truly believe that we will see some improvement as we move forward. But in order for us to do that, we have to have a new WAPA being constructed, and we have to also face the fact that unless we're able to continue to subsidize WAPA, this community, because of the amount of people that's coming off the grid, will not be able to support WAPA. So the government will have to continue to support WAPA and provide stipends towards the payments of the WAPA bills that we're experiencing.
Thank you. With respect to crime, cited by voters as one of the top concerns, let's focus in on violent crimes. Crimes by young adult males has led to an alarming increase in the number of deaths among that population. A sociological study, revealed that such crimes are often committed by males who dropped out of school. What would be your response as a senator in the 36th legislature to this finding? I will begin with you, Senator Francis.
Of course, I've been a crime fighter for 25 years, and I understand crime and criminology. Having a degree in criminology, it's important that we look at the causes of crime. We know that poor education is definitely an issue that confronts us as it pertains to crime, and that's why I've always worked towards breaking the school-to-prison pipeline, where we want to make sure that our students are properly educated. When we hear about 28 to 33% of our students living in a poverty, that has to give you reason for pause. Because if a person is hungry, if they're challenged by poverty, they can't learn in a school environment. So we have to break the school to prison pipeline. In addition to that, we look at truancy. Would you believe it or not, but the biggest number that we're seeing in truancy as it stands right now is kindergartners. Again, they don't take themselves to school. If we don't get our students fundamentally interested in education at an early age, then we have a problem as we move forward. We also have to continue to support our Virgin Islands Police Department. My colleagues and I continue to support our Virgin Islands Police Department, make sure that they have the right crime-fighting tools to go out there and make sure that they're making timely arrests. Surveillance cameras on our street corners, new police cars, supporting them with the record management system, and all of the crime-fighting efforts so that they could be effective at their crime-fighting capabilities.
Thank you. With respect to education, cited by voters as one of 4 major concerns.
I didn't get the question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Please, my apology.
Thank you. So with regards to public safety, we definitely want to thank the men and women in blue. However, we do have a problem with the violent crime that we're seeing. What I am trying to see, or would hope to see, happen is that our law enforcement community come together. Right now, there's a deployment problem within the Virgin Islands Police Department, and I would like to see a redeployment strategy come out and have the police department now look more closely to community policing initiatives and crime prevention programs. This will now reduce crime in our communities. But unless we see that deployment coming forward, whereas you're seeing the boots on the ground and having officers visible where there's a preventative uh, uh, feeling out there, then the crime will continue as is. But I am hopeful. There's a meeting of the minds coming up shortly where we will be seeing the strategies that they will put forward as a criminal justice entity, and not just the Virgin Islands Police Department, but we're talking about the Virgin Islands Police Department, the Department of Justice, the Bureau of Corrections, and the courts working in unison as the criminal justice system for all.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next question. With respect to education, cited by voters as one of the 4 major concerns, what do you see as the primary challenges facing education today? And what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 36th legislature? I will address you first, Senator Giddens.
So we know that there's a shortage of teachers within the education system. I just started to research some ideas where we can work with the Department of Education and the Board of Education to see how we can prepare and promote our the substitute teachers, and be able to move them up, help them to go through the University of the Virgin Islands, get a level of certification that will be suitable for the Board of Education so that they can step into the roles of full-time teachers. But definitely we know that there's a shortage nationwide, so we have to cultivate from within and try to make sure that we build a pool currently so that our students could have a good learning opportunity.
So I think too, additionally, in addition to what my colleague have indicated, is that we have to diversify our education system so there'll be an interest in learning. I think that our students really need to be exposed beyond just the regular mundane type of education that they're seeing, and really continue to seek their input and also to pique their curiosity as it pertains to learning. I truly believe that we also have to do some early diagnosis of individuals in terms of the school and start at an early age. And I see that we're making some inroads in terms of early education with some of the head start that we're seeing throughout our schools. But we have to continue to expose our students and evaluate them so that we could get the best bang for them. We also have to continue to improve the infrastructure that they're having. You know, my challenge is that you're seeing where there's students that continue to excel significantly. They're able to go on to become attorneys, become doctors, and then we have some that's being left behind. I believe that the guidance counselor is going to be instrumental in us being able to do these evaluation and be able to have lesson plans prepare for students at the elementary age and then work throughout the entire junior and high school, so that we could really, again, making sure that we fit in their interests as well as working towards getting them over to the next level. And we have to be able to put our students in category. If they don't want to go to college, then certainly we want to explore them with trade schools, the military or whatever, identify them early and work towards improving those conditions.
Thank you. With respect to health, cited by voters as one of the top 4 major concerns, many leave the territory in search of health care, especially on St. Croix. What do you see as the primary challenges regarding health care, and what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 36th legislature? Senator Francis?
Health is wealth. Health is very important here in the territory, and you, coming from the nursing profession, you could have an appreciation for this. I think it's important that, at the University of the Virgin Islands, we continue to put out, some excellent health professionals, but we also need to make sure that we have the proper infrastructure in place to be able to assist and support our nurses and allied professionals. I'll tell you that we have, and I've seen the work that have been done by some of our healthcare workers here, And yes, while they're facing challenges, they continue to save lives in this community. It's unfortunate that individuals have to go off island because of the limited specialty that we have here in the territory, and I think that that's where we can really hone in and being able to make sure that we're bringing those specialty here to the Virgin Islands. It is my vision that the Virgin Islands, and especially here in St. Croix, we could have this to be the healing destination of the Caribbean and get our healthcare system up to the level where people will actually be coming here for services. I believe that we have some new opportunities in that. In terms of our disaster recovery efforts, we have a new facility that's getting ready to be built over at the former Charles Howard area, the clinics there, as well as over at the Governor Juan Francisco Louis Hospital. We have to come together as a community to make sure that we're supporting those endeavors. We do have a sick community, and we also need to be mindful of that. We're spending, we just renewed the insurance, where we're spending $180 million in healthcare, and a lot of that is being breed off island, and we need to bring some of that money back home here to the territory.
Thank you. Senator Giddens?
Thank you for that. And access to quality health care is indeed crucial. I pushed and supported legislation to have the medical school built here in the Virgin Islands in the 30th legislature, and assisted by my colleague here with me tonight in the 31st legislature, we were successful in having the medical school in the Virgin Islands, whereas the medical school there's a medical school building on St. Thomas, and on St. Croix we have the simulation center. We have been working feverishly to address our healthcare shortages. Like anywhere else in the nation, we are short-staffed and short of especially the specialties. And as was stated, we are also looking forward to not only the building of a new Department of Health facility for public health here in the Richmond area, but also looking forward to a new build of the respective hospitals as well. And I have chiefly sponsored legislation to ensure that we have the adequate space where we purchase land to expand on the current location where the St. Croix Hospital sits. And I'm looking forward to the demolition and build of the new hospital.
Thank you. Let's talk a bit about housing. Many young families and senior citizens are leaving the territory because they cannot find affordable housing market here or find affordable rents, excuse me, or their housing might be tied up in probate. My question to you, how will you approach probate reform or other efforts to reduce derelict or abandoned houses in the Virgin Islands in order to increase the housing inventory for young families and seniors in particular? Senator Giddens?
Thank you for that question. Derelict buildings, especially in our downtown areas, have been near and dear to me. I have legislation in that will reduce the requirements of what's expected within the historic district. As one of my colleagues stated, not everything, I'm going to try to remember exactly what it's not everything that is old is historic. So what we need to do is we need to preserve our historic properties within the downtown areas. We would like to work with the Historic Preservation Commission to identify those particular buildings within the downtown areas that should be historically preserved. All the other properties that has no historic value should be able to be renovated. However, the property owner sees fit, of course, with them having the facade, maintaining that facade on the outside. But for the inside, they should be able to fix up and maintain these establishments or these properties within our downtown areas. And I would look forward to working along with the delegate to Congress to see if we could find more federal funding for affordable housing here in the territory. Thank you.
Senator Francis?
Housing is a national crisis currently, and I know that your question is in respect to probate and probate court and getting those some of these properties taken care of in a timely fashion. But we have provided $4 million to support our middle class, our teachers, our nurses, to be able to again apply for loans and opportunities for them or grants to be able for them to be able to own a home. We also have $20 million that's available through the EDA and the SLICE program. In respect to the probate court, I think that we are having that discussion, and we have legislation that's currently on the books where we're working along with the Superior Court to make sure that there is a probate court that is established, at least for time certain, so that we could really reduce some of the wait lists that we're seeing in respect to probate. But regardless of what, I believe that there is opportunities for us to address the abandoned and derelict buildings, whether it's in our towns or our community, and allow for work to be done. We could subsidize, provide grants to the families so that these homes could certainly be rebuilt, refurbished, and be made available for housing. It is a crisis, and I believe that we have the wherewithal in-house to be able to address those concerns if we're really able to focus in and get those that's ultimately responsible for housing to really act on these measures that we have brought forward.
Thank you. You would like to add something?
Yes.
60 seconds.
Thank you, and my apologies because you did mention probate. And I just wanted to say that my colleague and I too in the previous legislature that we worked towards joining the court system to have one judicial court system where we have also created the magistrate judge position. So what we will be doing is working along with the judicial system to ensure that we can have a magistrate that will be assigned to handle a number of these probate cases so that there would be not such a backlog.
Thank you. Senator Francis, is there anything else you would like to add on? I gave him the opportunity.
Well, I mean, as of late as today, we certainly had the Virgin Islands Housing Authority in there. We also had the nonprofit organization in respect to a homeless situation that we're experiencing here. And I think that, we need all hands on deck in respect to this housing crisis that we're experiencing. And I say it's really, one team, one fight. We truly have to come together collectively to be able to address this housing crisis that we're experiencing. And, the fundings are there to support this through the CDBG funding that will be made available through, again, FEMA or HUD. And we just really need to determine as a government and as a community, how do we want to move forward on this particular issue.
Thank you. We will move on now to economic development. The pandemic has shown us that we need to diversify our economy or find new ways to generate money to supplement our dependence on tourism. What other opportunities do you see besides tourism and alcohol for diversifying our economy and bring new dollars to the territory? Further, what are the challenges to making them a reality? My question is to you first, Senator Francis.
Well, I don't see this as a challenge. I see it more of an opportunity. Certainly, I have moved legislation with the South Shore Enterprise Zone, and EDA is very near and dear to my heart. And diversifying our portfolio is critical as we move forward. We saw what happened when we lost Hovensa because we had our eggs in one basket. We fell flat on our face, and we should never find ourselves in that position again. Likewise, with the pandemic, we saw that. So I think it's critical that we continue to diversify our portfolio. Like I said, the South Shore Enterprise Zone provides some opportunity for us to bring, light manufacturing, assembly lines, call centers in the enterprise zone. We're working with EDA. We also provided $5 million in a catalyst fund to the RT Park for the opportunity to support small businesses here in the territory. As recent as last week, Friday, we provided an additional $10 million in the catalyst fund, again, with an earmark of 40% specifically to Virgin Islanders to establish small business here in the territory. So there's a lot of opportunities that's being made available. When we look at the hundreds of businesses that have been established, we have to continue to support our small business. But more importantly, they have to be able to get paid, right? So we need to make sure that our vendors as well are being paid, so that they can continue to expand this portfolio and diversify our economy. So we're all in this together. And I think that there is some funding opportunities that have been made available. We also have the Vision 2040 plan that really speaks to economic development and, again, diversifying our portfolio.
Thank you. Senator Giddings.
Thank you, and I'll just add to that also collections has been a problem here for us in the Virgin Islands. We have millions of dollars. We just finished wrapping up our budget, which is over $1 billion between federal funding and local funding. And if we were to increase or do a better job at our collections, we'll do a much better job. Having a revenue generating entity close down its operations at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you still have 2 hours more to go is just not beneficial to us. So hopefully we'll see a better action to that regards. Also, the legislature have also worked with the Government Employees Relations Board, where we now have our our active employees able to take personal loans at the GERS. Currently, we're working on legislation to have the retirees also able to do this. And just having our locals have access to monies, they will be able to spend dollars right here locally in the Virgin Islands. Thank you.
Thank you. My next question is, what have you done as a senator, if re-elected, in the 36th legislature to grow, support the private sector, and to encourage more locals to become successful in the private sector? Senator Giddings.
I support small businesses, and whatever we can do to support small businesses funding-wise, I will certainly be one of your biggest advocates within the legislature. Again, working closely with our delegate to Congress, our representative in Washington, will be even more beneficial where we can support these small businesses. We're talking about having a booming tourism economy here in the Virgin Islands. I believe in those small businesses being able to sell their products right down in the downtown areas. The individuals with the coconut water, with the sugar cane, all the local products that we can push here. Again, supporting small business is something that I will continue to champion once a member of the 36th legislature. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Francis.
Additionally, we'll continue to exhort our oversight because, like I've indicated previously, we have established the Catalyst Fund, the South Shore Enterprise Zone. We have had Tech Village development with the RT Park. We have an investors forum that's coming up next month where we'll be leveraging opportunities that's available. We do have the EDA, RT Park. There are a number of tax incentives that's being provided to support our small businesses. I truly believe that there's a lot of opportunities there. We have relaxed legislation that allow for individuals to be able to receive a business license and renewal within a timely fashion. And we're a little bit less concerned about ensuring that they have paid all of their taxes before they get their business license and kind of do that on the back end of it. So I truly believe that there's tremendous opportunities that's being made available for locals or attracting small businesses to our territory. I think it's critical that we continue to expand that, and I look forward to this community taking advantage of those opportunities as well as to be able to attract new businesses to our territory. The Vision 2040 really spelled out and identify the opportunities that's available there, how we'll work collectively to move these initiatives forward, and they're supported through our community block grants if necessary. But I truly believe that there's tremendous opportunity that's being made available, and we just have to ensure that our people take advantage of those opportunities, so that it can remain local, and as well as expanding outside of the territory.
Thank you. For the first time, good news. In about 30 years, we may finally be getting a real land and water use plan. Thanks to the work of DP and NARA, what do you see as the next step in activating the plan that would involve the legislature? My question is to you, Senator Francis.
Thank you for that opportunity. I welcome us finally getting this comprehensive land and water use plan. It's something that we have advocated for a number of years. The legislature continue to be put in a position where we have to do spot zoning, consequential to not having a comprehensive land and water use plan. We were very much engaged in the town halls and reviewing this, and we're hoping to have that legislation before us in the next coming weeks. So hopefully we could pass it in the 35th legislature and start to deploy it into the 36th legislature. But I think finally we'll be able to right fit our community in respect to where businesses go, where different development will occur. And I think it'll make us all for the better, once we're able to do this, and not to continue to put the legislature in a position where we have to do spot zoning, make decisions that sometimes adversely affect, a business being able to not be established. I truly believe that the land and water use plan is long overdue, and I'm looking forward to moving that legislation before the end of the term.
Senator Giddens.
So we do definitely need this land and water use program in place. I'm looking forward to seeing the final product on this so that we can move legislation. As I've always said, prior planning prevents poor performance. And as stated by my colleague, now we will be able to control or stop the spot zoning. I always say that I don't believe that zoning has any business in the legislature, and I believe in putting it in the hands of the professionals. So I am looking forward to seeing the final product of this land and water use program so that we can just have things much more organized here in the territory. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's talk about agribusiness. Candidates have discovered that it is wise to talk about promoting agriculture in order to get elected. But once in office, very little is heard about strengthening agribusiness. What do you see as the challenges to making agribusiness a reality in the Virgin Islands, and how would you address them as a senator? I will address that question to you, Senator Giddens.
Thank you. It is important for us to be able to feed ourselves. And in farming, what I'm seeing is that there's no need for us to compete against each other. Our farmers can all get together where there could be a group, some who do certain fruits, some who do certain vegetables, some who raise particular cattle or animals, pork, etc., and work together. We should be able to feed ourselves. We saw what happened after the pandemic when things were slow coming in. Now there's also a scare that's being talked about out there that there's a possibility of shipment being stymied coming in to the territory or being moved about, period, because of a strike. So I do believe that we need to take agriculture seriously and put our monies where our mouths are, and that is why I've always supported the budget for the agriculture department, which should be increased. However, hopefully we'll be able again to see our collections taking place in this government so that we can properly fund all these agencies and departments. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Francis.
Of course, we got to go back to the soil, right? Our soil is rich. We have been an agrarian society of the past, and we can continue to do that I have been the primary sponsor and a piece of legislation that earmark a percentage of our budget to the agriculture department, which increases their budget by $2 million on an annual basis for the purpose of land preparation, as well as property maintenance and preparation. And I believe that once we're able to really expand that, we'll be able to see a lot more exporting rather than importing all of the products that we're experiencing. We have a lot of health issues associated with foods coming in, and I truly believe that being able to grow and allow for self-sufficiency here in the Virgin Islands will be critical, and here in St. Croix in particular, where we have land mass to support agriculture and agriculture products. We also have the coconuts, tamarind, mangoes, even cannabis. We have opportunity to really expand and be able to grow our products that again would allow us to be able to have something to export. We pay a tremendous amount of money for products to be brought in, and then we send out empty trailers. I think that having those trailers, being able to again be able to export products will be critical. In our South Shore Enterprise Zone, we're able to establish horizontal and vertical growers, again, for the purpose of mass production of agriculture products. So we're really truly hoping to see our agriculture develop that.
Thank you. Let's turn our attention to the environment and climate change. What do you perceive as potential adverse impact of climate change on the territory? What would you do as senator to ensure that attention is brought to mitigating those impacts? I'll begin with you, Senator Francis.
Thank you for the question. And of course, what most concerned me as it pertains to climate change and global warming is the unknowns. I believe that we have seen where we see a lot of erosion that's occurring. We see where the weather patterns are changing drastically. We're seeing the melting of glaciers and icebergs. We're seeing the unpredictable heat that we're experiencing. The unknowns is what's really troubling to me. But I believe that the efforts that's being made, of course, with the funding that's coming in from the Biden-Harris administration to continue to support our University of the Virgin Islands and their green technology will help us to continue to study, what's happening within our coastal zone, as well as our climate change and global warming issues and concerns. I believe that we need to continue to educate ourselves as it pertains to this, and perhaps try to get ahead of the curve, or at least to play catch up. It's very concerning, what's happening, and it's important that we're able to gain some foresight and knowledge and be responsive to this type of issue that we're facing. More importantly, I think it's critical that we're able to make sure that we have the technology as well as the infrastructure and equipment to be able to support the impact that we're continue to sustain as a result of climate change and global warming. So as a legislator, we intend to continue to support our University of the Virgin Islands or any other component instrumental in climate change and global warming.
Thank you, Senator Giddens.
And as it pertains to climate change, as was said, there's the unknown. So I always lean on the professionals in this area. And that's why we'll continue to support the efforts of the University of the Virgin Islands so that we could have the professionals be the ones to address this and let us know what their needs are, especially when it comes to the technology in order to address this. And I am looking forward to working with my colleagues and those at the University of the Virgin Islands and other professionals in this area to address the climate change.
Thank you very much. My question is, listen carefully, please. Many citizens are appalled at white-collar corruption here. This includes the careless awarding of contracts to businesses or persons who are later revealed to be fraudulent, or the hiring of people with false resumes by government officials accepting bribes. All examples of corruption or white-collar crimes. Do you see the legislature being able to address this, I will address you, Senator Giddens.
Thank you. I feel like that question was just directed at me. The reason being is because currently I have what we call a twin bill before us in the legislature to address this type of behavior that you're talking about. What I have before the 35th legislature right now is bills number 35, that's 0227 and 0228, I believe it is. That's 35, that's 0227, and 35, that's 0228, which will be amending the Virgin Islands Code, I believe that's Title 3, in establishing what is called an Ethics and Conflict of Interest Commission. We will properly fund this commission and create I believe it's a 5-member commission that will be able to address public corruption. Alongside that, I also have a BR that's before us with regards to public corruption that will seek to suspend your GRS pension if you get caught with your hand in the kitty or you steal government funds, I would say, or do something that you're actually convicted of violating the public's trust as a public official. So these two measures, yes, indeed, I'm looking forward for the 35th legislature to actually put into effect. Thank you.
Senator Francis.
I think that we got to continue to be good stewards of the people's money and the government money. I have no sympathy for individuals that commit white-collar crime. You know, unlike murderers, of course, it could be a heat of passion situation where you have to react to a particular situation, and as a result of that, you might be charged with murder. But you have where these white-collar crimes are people that really strategically, undermine the trust of government and government funds to, again, breach that trust. And I think it's so hard to recover from those type of situation. I will continue to be good stewards of the people's money. I'm proud to say, and I gloat about this many times. I left the Virgin Islands Police Department many years ago, where I had a budget of $67 million, and I've never been called by the Inspector General's office, the U.S. Attorney's office, or the Attorney General's office to ask me anything about any financial matters there. I think it's critical that we're able to set examples by these individuals that breach that trust, so that it'll make that next person, think twice about committing those type of white-collar crime. So I'm definitely one that support, and I've joined on to the ethics bill that Senator Gittens spoke about, and we're very serious in ensuring that there is some, again, protection and prosecution, if necessary, of the people's breach of that trust where you committed a white-collar crime.
Thank you. Now, each candidate will have 60 seconds each for a closing statement, starting with Senator Giddens.
Thank you. Kenny Gittens, number 14 on your ballot. I ask for your support, humbly. Whenever I see a problem, I always try to look for a solution. I try to work as a team with my colleagues so that we can make a better way for a good quality of life for all Virgin Islanders. Public corruption, again, has no business in our small, close-knit community. I will continue to work with my colleagues to that end to ensure that we are good stewards of the public funds. Therefore, I will continue to push the initiative of bills number 35, that's 0227, and bill number 35, that's 0228, to create that Ethics and Public Corruption Commission. You can count on me to always be there and stand firm, even if I have to stand alone. Kenny Gittens, number 14 on the ballot, asking you to go out and vote. Your vote is your voice. Thank you.
Senator Francis.
First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters as well as WTJX for this opportunity again to speak to the people of this community and to ask for them to support me going into the 36th legislature of the Virgin Islands. I'm certainly a servant leader. I believe that I'm dependable, committed, and trustworthy. Continue to believe that experience matters. I have had the opportunity to serve as the Senate President, Senate Vice President, as well as a chair of a number of committees. And my discipline have always been the same. I sometimes are the first to show up to work and the last to leave. I come to work. I've never missed a legislative session in my entire term at the legislature. Full attendance, perfect attendance, throughout that time there at the legislature. I want to continue to serve the people of the Virgin Islands. Again, I believe that I'm truly a statesman because I want to look at the glass as being half full. I don't spend a lot of time with the pessimism. I believe that we have a collective responsibility to solve the issues that's plaguing this community, and I ask for the consideration of giving one of your votes in the 36th legislature of the Virgin Islands. I want to continue to work with my colleagues to be able to make a difference and improve the quality of life here in the Virgin Islands. We have a good opportunity, and we're at a tipping point where I truly believe that we could be able to turn the tides and make this Virgin Islands one of the best place in the Caribbean, where we could continue to bring our families back home, our children back home, as well as to, again, solicit and elicit new people to join our community. I'm Novel E. Francis Jr., number 8, on your ballot, asking for one of your votes.
Thank you, candidates and viewers. And thank you, WTJX TV and staff for today's program. The League of Women Voters hopes this program has helped with you, the voters, in understanding of the candidates, and in so doing inform your vote in November. The League reminds you that your vote determines the future of the Virgin Islands. Every vote does count. During election, we often see an individual who barely makes the cut because a few more people did vote, or one who barely loses and wishes if only a few more persons had voted. So let your voice be heard by your vote. It's your right. Take it. Thank you for watching. I am Annie Day Henry for the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands, saying vote early or vote in November, but just vote.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WTJX, its board, staff, or underwriters.
Closed captioning for this program was underwritten by AARP of the Virgin Islands.